What draws a player into a game beyond the storyline or the mechanics? For many players, it's the moment that they see themselves or who they want to be reflected on screen. Whether it's selecting your Mii on the Wii, designing a pixelated skin in Minecraft, or choosing an item that acts as a character customization is more than just a fun feature. It's a tool for connection, identity, and self-expression. Video games today are not just entertainment, they serve as a social platform, creative outlets, and spaces where identity is performed, explored, and sometimes even protected. These days, more and more games are giving players the chance to shape their own characters and identities. And that brings up the question, does the ability to customize your avatar actually affect long-term player engagement? In this video essay, I explore how character customization allows players to feel seen, express themselves, and stay engaged over time. Drawing on scholarly research, games, and personal interviews, I argue that being able to choose and design your own avatar matters because when a player can create an avatar that feels like them or who they would like to be, it builds a stronger emotional connection to the game. Avatar customization matters because it shapes how a player sees themselves, how others see them, and how emotionally connected they feel to the game. Even within creative limitations, customization can be a powerful tool for reclaiming identity and building long-term engagement. My love for character customization began in around 2009 when I was 8 years old. One of the ways I expressed myself was through bit strips, the original Snapchat Bitmojis, where I would create custom comic strips. I would create avatars of my friends and my family, and although bit strips technically weren't games, they offered a lot of opportunities to change the stories. It felt like a game, even more so than some story-based games do. I would do the same thing on the Wii, create my entire family in Wii form, and also some funky things that weren't exactly human-like. And then came Rock Band, where I experimented with more like daring styles. At one point I wore a gargoyle shirt that was literally just covering my boobies. These early experiences gave me a sense of creative freedom and a way to express myself, making gaming feel more personal and engaging. And that brings me to part 1. Avatars as a form of expressing identity. So I would like to start with the basics. Avatars aren't just characters, they're extensions of us. In this section, I would like to define 3 main types of customization. Type 1, full customization, which is where you can design everything from the eyebrows to the nose, to the body, to the type of being. Type 2 is limited preset choices. You can choose some things like the outfits and the character. You can't choose everything. You can't choose the eyebrows or anything. Type 3, no customization, like Extreme Pamplona, for example, where you can't choose anything. You're just one set character and you don't have the option to change. But when you do get to customize, it creates a unique relationship between you and the game. It's not just about making a cool character, it's about seeing a version of yourself on screen, or sometimes somebody you wish to be. In chapter 29 of Debugging Game History, Identities by Carly A. Kokurik, she points out that games have long centered a narrow image of the ideal gamer, a young, white, straight male, and that bias shows up in character design, leadership, and even community spaces. But as avatar customization lets players push back, making a character that looks or feels like you says, I belong. As Kokurik writes, the lack of diversity in the industry leads to a lack of diversity on screen, but customization helps players reclaim that space. And when players feel represented, they feel more connected. It's a personal, powerful thing, and it keeps people playing. I wanted to conduct a series of interviews to find if my friends cared which level of customization they were able to do, and most of them said yes, they prefer when they can customize their character fully.
A little bit of both. It depends on the game. But like, if they can look cool, I'd rather them look cool.
I care how it looks like because it makes me feel like I'm more into the game when it represents me in a way. Like if I pick their hair, it kind of symbolizes me because I chose it. So it feels like I'm more connected to the game because something I chose is what my characters wear.
Yeah, I like to play online games, and so you get to have an avatar, and you can make your avatar look however you want. And so you get to basically make it look like you, make it look not like you, make it look like anything.
Do you actually care about what your character looks like, or is it more about just playing the game?
Well, when I start the game off, I try to make it look as similar to how I look like in real life. So like dark skin, curly hair, brown eyes, muscles, obviously, you know what I mean?
For the most part, it's just about playing the game. But when I'm making the character, I just make it a male, and then I'll make it whatever from there. It does not matter to me.
How come you want a guy?
If it's about identity, and that part matters to me. I've always made my characters a guy because I'm a guy.
And that brings me to part 2, avatars as emotional shields. It's true that avatars can act like digital masks. In a lot of games, especially ones where you don't have to choose your real name or show your real face, players have the freedom to explore parts of themselves that they might not feel safe expressing in a real world. This is especially true for people exploring things like gender, body image, or identity more broadly. In the video essay, Video Games and the Transgender Experience by Zeta the Forward Thinker, they talk about how having an avatar gave them a way to express their gender identity at a time where the world around them didn't feel accepting. They explained that stepping into the game as your true self can be a powerful experience for the player. It can be a way to be seen, even when no one really knows who you are behind the screen. And this kind of freedom isn't limited to any one specific group of players. In digital spaces, we get to choose how we represent ourselves to one another, and it's like a fictional world where we can exist however we want to be. It can be playful, experimental, or personal, and it gives people a low-risk environment to try out parts of who they are or who they want to become. Treva Mitchell Legacy covers this in her chapter in Playing, Performing, and Policing, Navigating Avatars and Expression in Second Life. She writes that duplicating and displacing the human form allows users to create a divergent persona that may respect an aspect of their identity unrestricted by their emotional selves. In other words, avatars can offer a kind of creative and emotional freedom that our everyday lives might not. For a lot of players, especially those who don't always feel represented in the real world, avatar design can become a way to express and just be themselves, sometimes for the first time ever. Think about games like Minecraft. You're just a bunch of blocks. No one sees your real face, just your skin. The simplicity becomes powerful. It's a kind of emotional net, a place to experiment, explore, or even hide. And with that being said, it brings me to part 3, creative freedom within limitations. As a player, one of the things I love about creating characters is working within each game's set of unique limitations. Sometimes it's the visual style, like pixel art or a blocky design, and other times it's about choosing objects instead of a human character. One of the friends I interviewed talked about how she enjoys customizing her weapons because in the game, that's kind of your character. Instead of being an actual person or figure, you're a literal object.
I've realized from playing a lot of games that I feel more into a game where I can characterize anything. So it's not even a character, it could be like a gun. I can characterize the skin of a gun, then I feel more connected to that.
One of my personal examples of a game that has limitations is Minecraft. It's probably my favorite game, and it's a good example because the game allows so much creative freedom while also just being so limited. I can make the cutest houses with heart-shaped interior design, I can do entire kitchens and cozy study nooks, all while flipping a few items around. For example, stairs. They're not really meant to be chairs, but they look cute. When I create my own character, I have so much fun designing the character and putting flowers in her hair, choosing all the colors of each individual pixel or block, and even though she's made of blocks, the character feels like a version of me. There's something uniquely creative about working within boundaries. That simplicity doesn't take away from the experience. In some cases, it actually makes it more expressive. Drawing again from the article Playing, Performing, and Policing, Navigating Avatar Expression in Second Life, Legacia writes that the aesthetic of an avatar can connote many things: personality traits, sexual desires, hobbies, and interests. That's why even a simple design tool still matters. A few pixels or accessory choices can communicate a lot. Players pick up on those cues. We use them to signal who we are and who we want to be. Artist Gaunati takes this even further into her own work. She uses avatar design to explore indigenous identity in online spaces, creating digital selves that reclaim cultural presence and challenge erasure. What she shows us is that avatars aren't just visual representations, they're forms of storytelling. Even in stylized or limited forms, character customization becomes a space for personal, cultural, or political expression. Let's get to the core of it. Players are more likely to stay engaged with a game when they feel represented, and avatar customization plays a huge role in that. When I talk to my friends about it, most of them say that they would lose interest if they weren't able to customize their character. That emotional connection is not random, it's built into how avatars work. In Chapter 5 of Debugging Game History, researcher Catherine Isbister explains that avatars operate on multiple levels. They're emotional, physical, cognitive, and social. When we play, our avatar becomes the way we move through the world. Our body, our voice, our fantasy. Whether we're designing our dream version of ourselves or just tweaking a few features, the avatar acts as a kind of digital self. Isbister talks about one early example from Tiger Woods' PGA Tour 2004. The game let players adjust everything. It's one of the first examples of this. The first time that you could adjust facial features, forearm size, and then play through the entire golf career with that avatar. And what happened? People started getting invested. People started playing it more. It wasn't just like they were playing a game of golf, but they were also watching a character grow, change, and win. To support this claim, I would like to highlight something that Isbister wrote. She wrote that the game encouraged the player to conduct an entire career as a digital golfer, which led the player to project herself more deeply onto the avatar and increased investment in outcome over the course of gameplay. Okay, so let's come back to the big question. Does the ability to customize your avatar affect long-term player engagement? Yes, without a doubt. Because avatar design is identity design. It's not just about how a character looks, it's about how we see ourselves, how we want to be seen, and how we connect to the world that we're playing in. Over the course of this video, we've looked at how avatars act as expressions of identity, as emotional shields, and as creative outlets, even within limitations like pixels or presets. And through all of that, one thing stays clear. When players are given the tools to represent themselves, they're more likely to care about the game and to keep playing. At the end of the day, it's not just about playing a good game, but it's also about feeling like you're part of it. And with the continuing way that the world is developing and video games are just getting more and more immersive, this becomes so much more prominent.